He was the most public figure in many years. He found The Rock. Let's bring him on. The new book, My Life in Wrestling, the legendary Jim Ross, an entrepreneur, a raconteur, a boomer sooner. Now, listen, I know a lot of your fans don't like me, but they asked me 2 weeks ago, what do you think about Jim Ross? And I said, that guy's a great American storyteller. So let's start with this. You were Vince's right-hand man. Mm-hmm. You were like a baseball scout. You were looking for talent. Where did you find The Rock? How was he found? And did you know early he was a star?
Well, yes, I did. The old joke would be even Ray Charles could see that that Rock passed the eye test.
Right.
He kind of passed the eye test. His grandfather was a great wrestling star, High Chief Peter Maivia. The Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson, was a great star around the world. So we knew he had the DNA, but he wanted to be a football player. He got cut from the Calgary Stampeders.
Yeah.
Didn't have any money. I go to Florida. I meet with him. I watch him work out, and I take him to lunch at this little Cuban place. Every female in the joint came by to fill our water glass, and some of them didn't even work there. They see this 6'5" stud, that looks like he's cut out of granite.
Oh, he's a great-looking human being.
With this wonderful ethnicity.
Yeah.
And just fabulous. So he said, I'd love to buy you lunch, JR, but I only got $7. And so his production company now is called $7 Entertainment after that.
That's all he had.
Yep. And he told me on that day, he said, I am going to be your top guy. And that's kind of like Steve Young telling the 49ers, I'm taking Montana's job.
By the way, now I'm going to throw this out there. I grew up with Andre the Giant and Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Those were my favorites. Those are my guys as I watched Pacific Northwest Wrestling. And Savage, there was a Savage guy.
Dutch Savage.
Dutch Savage. God, you're like an encyclopedia. In my worldview, the three biggest of all time, though, stars are Hulk, Rock, and Stone Cold. Am I close?
Yeah, you're very close. See, you're going to kill your image here of being this villain on television to my wrestling audience. You have knowledge.
Oh, no. I watched it for years. I like poking some bears. Jim, sometimes you got to poke the bear a little.
I hear you. Oh, I'm with you. I'm a bear poker, too. That can take it any way you want. I would add Ric Flair to that fourth guy.
Oh, God.
That would be my Rushmore. Flair, Hogan, Rock, Austin.
Okay, so let's go to Hulk Hogan, because wrestling always felt regional to me to some degree 30 years ago. A little regional. Then comes Vince McMahon. I always felt like with Hulk, they always say this, Magic and Bird made the NBA popular again in America. Michael took it global. LeBron's been the player empowerment guy. I felt like to some degree, Magic Johnson, Hulk Hogan made it 30, sold out Madison Square. Am I wrong? Was it bigger than that before that?
The proliferation of the WWE, then the WWF going global, going national first, obviously, was Hogan. Hogan was the lead mule that pulled the wagon to take McMahon farther down the road. And then we get Austin and Rock that takes the WWE from, among other stars, from a private company to a publicly traded company as it is now. It's just been and all those big stars to me are the guys that belong on that Mount Rushmore.
Now, I do believe if you lined up from John Cena, Roman Reigns, Hulk, all of them, Andre Giant, though because of his lack of kind of physical dexterity, he wouldn't be the toughest. I always felt Stone Cold, if you line them all up and you turn the lights off and said, in 1 hour, one guy's left. I always thought Stone Cold was the toughest physical combatant.
Very physical and very tough. But if it came down to bar fighting or to a street fight, I probably would have to move Brock Lesnar to the head of that line.
Oh, okay. Brock Lesnar was the great college wrestler. He's rough. He's intimidating to me. Is he? Do you get along? Was there ever a wrestler that was popular? Because you're very joyful and playful, that you had issues with.
Well, I've had some communication issues with Brock on occasion.
That's what he's not.
We got along great because we both came from a similar background. He was raised on a dairy farm in South Dakota with farmers as parents, and I was raised on a beef cattle farm in Oklahoma with my parents are farmers. So we had a lot of common ground there. But he's very defiant. He's very hard-headed. He knows what he wants, and he normally gets what he wants, one way or the other.
Look how Big. Now, Vince McMahon is no day at the beach either. Vince has his strong, he can be very rigid, and he trusted you. Okay, Vince doesn't trust anybody. Vince doesn't. I know enough about Vince. I lived in Connecticut. His wife and you are about it. Have there been times, Jim, that you went to Vince and said, "You're wrong"? Give me a moment when you said, "Vince, you're wrong on this."
Well, I was made the VP of Talent Relations, and I had to hire talent. He wanted me to reconfigure the roster, and one of the guys I hired was Mick Foley.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to hire Mick Foley. He had tried to come to work like 3 times, and Vince, and I have this in my book. He says, "You need to understand, JR, what it's like to have your heart broken by a talent that you really believe is going to be great, but they can't be great." And so he didn't think Mick was going to be great. He said, but he let me hire him so I could feel the heartbreak, so it helped toughen me up, right? And obviously that worked out really well for Mick and the WWE.
He's a top 10 guy all time, right?
Oh yeah, he's a writer, a philanthropist, a humanitarian. But I needed guys like him in my locker room. I wanted positive influences in the locker room, not outlaws, not carnies.
Okay, now let's segue to Conor McGregor. And Kristine and I talk about this all the time. So Conor, the UFC guy. I'm sorry, Jim. This is Kristine Leahy. She's amazing.
I'm afraid to look at her.
What? Why?
Well, I'm very fragile, Kristine.
Yeah, and you're so stunning and talented. And okay, so so Conor McGregor. Kristine and I talked about this last week. UFC doesn't pay as much as wrestling, and it sure as hell doesn't pay as much as boxing. I look at Conor McGregor, I think we've agreed with this. It's like, okay, after that whole Mayweather thing, I'm not sure Conor McGregor wants to go back into the ring. My prediction is he's a boxer or a wrestler. Jim, what do you know?
Well, I know that he's an amazing performer, an amazing talent, and I have great respect for the UFC, everything they do, and him. There's no way you can convince me that Conor McGregor will not earn a massive check from Vince McMahon someday in the future. It will not be a career deal. It will be a one-off, special occasion, massive promotion. I would suggest maybe at a WrestleMania somewhere down the road. But the attraction's there, the marketing's there, the money's there. Why not make it happen? And so I think Conor's is guaranteed for that. And I also think that Conor's not done in the octagon either. I think that he's a competitor. He likes to prove he's the alpha male, man.
Listen, let's talk about. I remember Roman Reigns and John Cena recently. It was what I would call a get real moment, and like a lot of this stuff. Listen, we all know it's promotion. Hell, I'm promoting stuff, Jim, but there is some promotion and some character-driven themes here, right? I mean, Vince and Trump and all this stuff. But that Roman Reigns Cena thing, there's a palpable uneasiness. Were you concerned they would go after each other when they had this get real moment?
I was surprised that it got as personal as it did and real. The situation behind the scenes has always been something that the average fan is not aware of, and that's the keen competition. If you want to make the big bread and you want your name above the title, Hulk Hogan versus Steve Austin above WrestleMania, there's only enough room for a couple of names up there. So there's a lot of competition for that spot. So Cena's had that spot. He's about ready to seemingly transition to a lesser role because of his schedule,
sure,
and age, and his life. And so I think he was throwing the gauntlet down to challenge Roman Reigns that apparently you're going to be my successor, and you got a hell of a lot of work to do.
Yeah, well, Cena is charitable beyond belief.
Great guy.
First of all, movie star handsome. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves into Hollywood.
No doubt. He'll follow Rock to the big screen, big time, and and Steve Austin's got his thing going with CMT and the Broken Skull Challenge. All those guys have advanced well, but Cena's on that. He's on the Today Show from time to time, all that kind of stuff. So
listen, this may be too intense, but Vince McMahon, this sport has had. Listen, the schedule's unbelievable. There have been wrestlers that come out and say, "Listen, man, it is tougher than the NFL." Have you ever had? I mean, you live this life, Jim. First of all, even for you, the schedule is daunting. Have there ever been times where you went to a wrestler and said, "You're just not going to last, man. You've got to be a grown-up"?
Yeah, a lot, and I think the same conversations had in NFL locker rooms and other places, NBA, because kids are being parented differently. And the athletes that are in their 20s, 20-somethings, have a different upbringing than the 20-somethings generation before them, in my view. I think a lot of our issues have to do with parenting. And I wasn't covering my book, and it's kind of tough. My wife wanted me to cover it because it was important to me to say it. I wasn't a very good father because I was a workaholic.
Yeah.
And these guys get guilt, they get anxiety, they're on the road, they feel the absentee father. Some of them like being on the road, but they'd be at home.
Yeah.
I had a guy one time come to me and say, JR, I'm in a real bind. I said, what is it? He said, I got my girlfriend a boob job, and I put it on my credit card, thinking I'd get the statement before my wife saw it. I said, well, I should fire you for just being stupid and being a dumbass. Are you kidding? You put on a credit card. Why don't you just put them in a layaway and make payments or something, whatever. But you have all kinds of crazy things. You think you're making $1 million a year, you're making money, but you're really stupid. Did you pay your taxes? Well, I'm going to. So you didn't pay your taxes is the answer. Yes or no, Your Honor. So they got to pay their quarterlies. It's just the thing where you want to babysit them and love them and bring them along. And I think the NFL's got some of the same mentor issues that the wrestling has. You agree or not?
No, yes. I mean, listen, in both wrestling and professional sports, 24-year-old men who are not yet fully mature are given millions of dollars.
It's crazy.
By the way, I was an idiot until about an hour ago. I mean, I'm 50 and I'm all screwed up. Jim Ross is his name. The book is called Slobber Knocker. This has been an absolute pleasure for me. 15 minutes of you. I hope the book knocks it out of the park. Hi, everybody, and thanks for watching. We want you to subscribe here, to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the herd, or go watch a few segments from the newest show on FS1, First Things First, with Chris Carter and Nick Wright.